Joining me now, Art Laffer, former Reagan economist, Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, and author of Taxes Have Consequences. He reportedly knows something about this subject. And then Kevin Hassett, former chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, and Brent R. Nicholas, Distinguished Fellow in Economics at the Hoover Institution, and author of The Drift, Stopping America's Slide to Socialism. Arthur, I think these numbers are important. I'm not making them up. They're not brand new numbers. This stuff was reviewed by the Prosperity Hotline newsletter last week or the week before. But every time Mr. Biden goes out there and starts yelling about rich people making too much, so unfair, the data don't prove that. The data show that lower tax rates wind up having the successful earners pay even more of the tax burden. In fact, you could say if you make a quarter of the income, which they do, you shouldn't have to pay half of all the taxes, but they do. And it just undermines everything Joe Biden says. I grow weary of it, Arthur, so I need a little help here. Boost my spirits.
You should. I mean, if you look at the book, Taxes Have Consequences, it's been true from the beginning of the tax codes to the present. It's just amazing. I mean, every single time you raise the highest marginal income tax rate, every single time, three things occur. Number one, the economy goes into the doldrums. Number two, tax revenues from the rich go down. And number three, the poor suffer. Every time you lower the highest marginal income tax rate, Larry, the economy outperforms. Not only does it outperform, but tax revenues from the rich go up, and the poor, the minorities, the disenfranchised do much better. It's been that way from the beginning of time, and it still is that way. Rich people have the ability to change their location of income, their timing of income, the composition of income, or the volume of income, and they have the ways of doing it, hiring lawyers, accountants, deferred income specialists, favor grabbers, lobbyists, all of these people. And that's the way the world actually works. I could imagine it working otherwise, but the facts are the facts. And frankly, when you come to this issue, you do not have a right to your opinion.
Well, that's the thing.
This is not about how you feel.
Right.
This is about facts, and the facts are exactly that, Larry.
I mean, if you have cheap tax rates, low tax rates, you don't need tax shelters, Kevin Hassett. And that's a big part of this.
No.
We can talk about growth. Growth plays an integral part in this. But when Arthur did his work a long time ago, not so long ago, and continues to update his work, and he's got this new book out with all this stuff in it. But basically, all right, if my top tax rate goes from 70, where it was 90 in World War II under FDR, Kennedy took it to 70, Reagan took it to 30, more or less. All right, Trump now bounced up a little bit. Trump took it down from 40 to 37, lowered corporate tax rates. I don't need the shelters. I don't want the shelters, so I'm going to pay more. I'm going to pay more than my fair share. In other words, what these numbers show, the wealthiest people made roughly 1/4 of all the income, and they pay 1/2 of the taxes. Now, I don't want to harp on it, but you could say that was unfair.
Right, and we cut the corporate revenue, our tax rate from 35 to 21%, and revenue almost doubled. But the thing I want to say, it was such an honor to hear Art talk about this and to show that chart that you showed. And I just want to remind people that Art graduated with a PhD from Stanford, back when I was in elementary school, sorry, Art. and then he got tenure younger than anybody at the University of Chicago in the history of that great institution. And he was an incredible data scientist. And he discovered that this pattern is in the data. And the thing, though, that I want to remind people, though, is as you see Biden in denial, that just after Art did that, the left in America went on assault against him, trying to destroy his reputation, to undermine his success, which, of course, they couldn't do. But it was so bad that Paul Samuelson, Larry Summers' uncle, gave a lecture at the University of Chicago why we're laughing at Laffer, even while Art was just a young kid.
Right.
And so the point is that these facts that we're talking about are profoundly dangerous to people on the left, and we need to think about why. Like, Art, you've spent your career being attacked for just showing people the data. Like, what do you think they're up to? What are they thinking? I don't know. Well, I can't picture it.
Yeah, we've lost Art technically. We may get him back or we may not get him back, but you're very kind, Kevin Hassett. You're very kind to point all that out. Arthur was right. I mean, look, we made the same arguments. You and I have made the same arguments in the Trump years using the corporate tax rate. which was something you pioneered, that the biggest beneficiaries of a lower business corporate tax rate, the biggest beneficiaries were not the richest people. They actually were the middle class, blue collar working folks. And you went through it, that the consumer prices went down and the stock market went up, but the biggest beneficiaries were the blue-collar workers. And for basically 15 years or so, people in the economics profession tried to ridicule you. They were wrong. You were exactly right. The principle is the same. Lower tax rate, yes, it creates incentives. You don't hunger for tax shelters. You don't try to escape your responsibility. Kevin, you know what it is? It's everything Biden won't admit. It's just cheap nickel and dime class warfare rhetoric. They don't use a single factoid. And I don't know if you saw that even the New York Times, Kevin Hassett, did a piece a couple days ago debunking a lot of Joe Biden's arguments on taxes and wealthy people. They completely debunked it, a point that we've been making. You know, there is no unrealized capital gains tax, so you can't add that income to their burden, and they didn't escape anything. Even the New York Times had to debunk Biden. So truth-telling, Kevin, is a very important asset, and it's going to come up in this election campaign, I would guess. What do you think?
Yeah, they're going to try to raise tax rates. And the point is that that's going to lower revenue, and it's going to make low-income people worse off. And the thing is that they have to know that that's what's going on. And so the problem is that they've got, you know, a bunch of people voting for them that fall into the trap of believing that rhetoric. And even though they get walloped by it over and over again, but in economic history, they somehow keep voting for these guys. And I think it's a real challenge. And it could be related to the fact that the left controls academic institutions. And so they're teaching our kids things that just don't make any sense.
Spot on. Kevin Hassett, thanks very much. I'm sorry we lost Arthur, but thanks for Arthur, all his work down through the years.